welcome back to the gallery. It feels like it's been a long time, but it's, I think, only been a couple of weeks. Things have been busy, which is a good thing. An exhibition coming up, and as a result, I guess I've drifted out of routine a little bit. Not a lot, a little bit. And it feels like there's too many balls in the air, except they're not soft, padded juggling balls. They're eggs and they're about to fall and get broken. But I suspect I'm exaggerating. And I suppose we all do this from time to time. It's easy to do. You know, you find things piling up and you just lose a sense of perspective. Unfortunately, I receive my regular emails in the inbox, and one of them that I got was from none other than Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck Bloke. A good book. Perhaps it's a little staged, but the philosophy underpinning things is very good. And I think he's an interesting, think for himself kind of writer, and well worth reading. You know, you might not end up agreeing with everything that he writes, or in terms of the videos, everything that he puts out there, but it's certainly food for thought, and that's no bad thing. And this email that I received, it was a sort of summary of 3 principles that he kind of lives his life by, or mantras or sayings, whatever. And the first one, I think, was quite pertinent to where I find myself right now. And I think probably all of us can relate a little bit to this, and it's good sage-like thinking. And it's basically this, in a nutshell, summing up. Someone once told him, let's put it that way, that you always need to remember that you're probably all right. Things are fine just as they are, but equally, things could be better. You know, you're just fine, but there's room for improvement. And I think that's a good sort of duality to keep in mind. And he speaks about it a little bit in his email. I won't go into too much detail. If you're interested, subscribe, and once a week or once a month, I kind of lose track, you'll get something interesting to read and think about. And if you, on a given email, find it all a little bit unnecessary, well, just delete it. It's that simple. But he kind of sums up this advice as a sort of a neat balancing of self-acceptance and self-improvement. And I think that's very much the ticket for everybody. We need to have a healthy dose of both of those. You know, we're fine. I mean, if you're listening to this and you find yourself profoundly not fine, in the sense that you're doing something really terrible, or you have problems that are I don't want to say of overwhelming importance, that's not the word, that need urgent attention, and not the kind of soft, touchy-feely self-improvement, but you're in a bitter, toxic relationship with someone or something, you're doing something that is terrible, immoral, or illegal, you know, whatever it is, something that really you need to deal with. Well, you really need to deal with it, and that's not, I think, what his advice is all about. But for most of us, we're okay. And probably if you're watching this video, you're fine. You're not a bad person. And your life isn't a terrible life. But equally, whatever it is that you're doing, however it is that you conduct yourself, there is space and scope for some sort of personal development. And that needs to be an ongoing thing. And the point about this juxtaposition of these two ideas is that generally speaking, they will be as true in the future as they are now. They are life paths, and we need to just get on with it and realize that we're fine. Take a moment to reflect on that, and equally look at how we can be fine in a slightly more elevated sort of way. And yeah, when I think about those 2 points, and I think of the things that are sort of weighing me down. It used to be in April, but then that got moved because of the pandemic to May. But for example, at that point in the year, I have to do my tax return. Well, that is a thing that kind of sets me not in a negative spiral, but just weighs a little bit. But quite simply, it has to be dealt with. So, one deals with that. On the other hand, right now, I have all sorts of arts and life projects. And frankly, whether I do them or I don't do them doesn't really matter. I'm fine. I think I treat the people around me with due respect. The things that I do are worthwhile sorts of things. But in both my relationships with other people, relationship to myself, and things that I'm doing, well, they can be done in some sort of way a little bit better, and that is the lifelong path of mastery. And at that point, when you've got that out of the way, when I've made this video, it's time to just say, yeah, it's all okay. Life and the universe is exactly the way it's supposed to be, and it's generally pretty good. For all the problems, disasters, tragedies, existential crises that are out there, I'm fine. I hope you're fine. And I could be a little bit more fine, do things a little bit better, and I'm going to start by working on the second arm of the sculpture that I'm currently fiddling around with. So I hope you're fine. I hope your life is filled with joy. And until next week, or whenever it might be, from a sunny Brazil and a cheerful gallery, ciao.